Today we're going to be talking about the big moment on a date, going for that first kiss. And if you guys haven't already, please watch my previous video on how to touch a woman on a first date, because that'll give you kind of all the lead up into creating that closeness, that intimacy, that physical contact that makes her ready and excited to go for a kiss with you. Going for a kiss is crucial. When you look at most studies, the vast majority of women, like 80 to 90%, say they know whether or not they're open to kissing a guy on a first date. And if they're into you and they're of the headspace of like, cool, I'm meeting up with this man to like see if we have a romantic connection, and they find that to be true, then a lot of the time they're going to be comfortable with that and excited about that. And if you go for a kiss and she's just not ready or not feeling it, they're not going to hate you that you tried to kiss them. I mean, they know why you're there. It's again just about accepting that gracefully, which we'll talk about later, and not making it that awkward. I think a lot of men come to me and they're like, well, I don't want to go for the kiss and mess things up. If she's into you, she wants you to go for the kiss at some point, and if she just needs more time, she's not going to hate you or hold it against you. She's just going to let you know, I'm not ready or not on the first date, but still it is confident and attractive to lead with that intention and shows a lot of courage and strength as a man. Now, I just want to clarify a few things that men kind of get in their head about and kind of messes up their chances to go for a kiss. The first thing is, so knowing when to do it. If you watch my previous video, once you've gotten some more intimate levels of touching in, something that you wouldn't do with a friend, you probably safely assume she's okay with taking those next steps. She's not letting a man touch her on a date who she's romantic with and getting close, do all those things, unless she's generally like, okay, I'm feeling it too, and let's explore this. So that's kind of your litmus test. A lot of men are like, when should I go for the kiss, Nick? Well, have you created some physical contact? Have you touched her a little bit through the date? And has she seemed receptive to it? If the answer is yes, then go for it. You know that's what you want. You can't read her mind any more than that, and you should take the shot and see how she feels. Additionally, a lot of men wait for the last minutes to go for the kiss. They do the whole thing where they have this long date, they spend all amazing time together, and then they take her home and they're maybe walking her to her front door or whatever, and then they try to make this big gesture to go for a kiss. And that actually generally doesn't work that well. It makes things really awkward where you both know that it's coming, and it creates a lot of tension and anxiety, and it just feels a bit forced. And I think it's actually better to consider kissing like halfway or 2/3 of a way through a date when you guys are in the moment and feeling really close or vibing well. So if you're like touching and laughing and maybe you go walk to your car to drive her home, then you do it on the walk there. Or you guys get into your car and you look at her and you start to lean over and make the move. That is going to be a lot more natural when you guys are in the moment. It's a little bit more spontaneous. It's attractive that it's just happening, like you guys are so into each other that you have to consummate this kiss and explore this together. And that's kind of the whole storybook romance. So again, two things that I think immediately make a difference is not just trying to read her mind, but using your touch as a litmus test and say, hey, if I've gotten some touches in and she's comfortable with this and she's comfortable being close, I could safely assume it's probably okay to try. And then two, not waiting for the last minute, but to do it more in the moment and more spontaneously. Now let's actually talk about going for it. So there's a large school of thought that feels like we need clarity and consent on every time we make a move. And in theory, I think that's great. Like, I think we should try to do our best to not upset someone or cross a boundary. But it kind of goes at odds with what works and also what a lot of women tell me they want. A lot of men come to me and they're like, well, I've been asking girls on dates, can I kiss you? Can I go for a kiss? And then it kind of is a little awkward, and a lot of women are like, I don't know. And it puts a lot of pressure on them to make that decision when they don't often want to. And that's what a lot of women tell me is like, when I'm feeling it with a dude on a date and he's asking me like shyly, can I go for a kiss? It kind of like pours water on the flame. And a lot of women have told me outright it's one of the most unattractive things they hate when a guy does. So if you feel like you need absolute clarity on a verbal way, I think at least making it a statement is better. You look in her eyes and you say, I really want to kiss you right now, or I want to kiss you. And you make it a statement and you give her a second or two to respond accordingly and see if she says okay or she leans in. And then you kind of get that clarity. But to be honest, I still don't think you need that a lot of the time. And I think you can get that clarity and that consent through nonverbal ways like we have for thousands of years. Okay, let me explain what I mean. Let's say you're going to walk her back to your car. And as you guys are walking, if you were to just like stop and pull her in real quick and give her a kiss all within like a couple of seconds, it is going to feel really sudden and she's going to feel really taken aback and like she didn't even have a chance to process it. And that's what's going to upset a woman, is not having a moment to kind of be in that moment with you and feel like, okay, we're agreeing upon this together. We're kind of doing this dance together. Instead, what I want you to do is first slow down and stop whatever you're doing. So if you're on that walk, stop walking. She'll recognize, oh, he stopped. She'll turn and look at you. Or maybe you're sitting with her somewhere and you guys are talking, finish out your sentence and just start looking at her for a second. And when you stop and you pause in your tracks and then you make eye contact with her and you look at her in the eyes, she's realizing, okay, wait, something's going on. He's looking at me and, oh, wait, I think he's starting to come in for a kiss. From there, I want you to bridge the physical gap between each other. Okay, so that means either you can kind of take a step forward to her, or you can take her by the hand or the lower back and kind of bring her close to you. If you're sitting, you kind of lean in nice and slow. And that 1 or 2 seconds where you're gently bringing each other closer and you're kind of leaning in, now it's even being more clear, okay, this guy stopped, he's making eye contact with me and he's looking at me, and now we're kind of getting close and leaning together. At this point, she's like, all right, I know what's happening. And this is so important because you're giving her an opportunity to be like, to either turn her cheek or to say, I'm not ready, or to kind of pull back, or to say, not tonight. You're giving her that time to recognize what's happening at every stage, and then she has a choice to say yes or no. If it's going well, if she's leaning back in, if she's letting you pull her close, you just lean in, you give her a nice kiss for 1 to 3 seconds. You don't give like a peck like you would with your grandma, but generally I don't advise making out full force right away unless she does, but a nice solid kiss for a couple seconds, you pull back, and honestly, most of the time you just roll back to what you guys were already talking about. So you're like, kiss her, and you're like, hey, tell me more about the trip to Argentina you got planned. So that whole process might take like 5 to 10 seconds, and you're giving her that opportunity to see what's going on through the stages. And it's also very confident and attractive to do it nice and slow and calmly, like you're sure of yourself. A lot of men think like they have to like rush through it to like get the kiss and it feels awkward. Actually, again, think that feels more awkward and it doesn't give her time to think about what's happening. Take your time. If she wants to kiss you, it's going to feel special. You're going to feel that tension, and she wants it to happen nice and progressively slow. Now, a final few tips there. If you do end up making out and she wants to keep kissing, I think a good thing to do is to be the first one to break that a few times. So maybe make out for 10-15 seconds, and then you're kind of the first one to pull away and just go back in a conversation. And then maybe you come back in a couple minutes later and you kiss her again a little bit, and you kind of have that balance of like where you guys are making out and exploring it, but you're kind of chill and also hanging out at the same time. Why? A lot of men just think like, well, if we're making out, why wouldn't I just continue all the time? Because as you guys are making out, it's starting to create that tension and feel really intense. And if it continues without a breather, it can actually start to feel overwhelming. She can question like, oh, is this going to go too fast? Or is this guy just only in it to get laid? She'll get a reaction to pull back and to stop. And you don't want that to happen. You want to show her like, hey, we're having fun, but like, we're going to do this dance progressively and naturally. I'm not like just going to rush through this, but we can kind of have fun and have some breathing room and enjoy this. Additionally, why I said earlier you want to do this halfway through the date or 2/3 of the way through the date is because if you wait to the end, guess what? You can't kiss again. And then that's the way the night ends. You guys kiss, you leave her home, and sometimes she's ready for more, or she wants to make out or fool around back at your place. Maybe not even have sex, but she wants to still get physically close and intimate. So if you do it earlier on in the date, then you have that opportunity where you guys are still hanging out. 5-10 minutes later, you guys kiss a little bit again, maybe a few times, and then you could eventually invite her back to your place, or she'll invite you to hers, and then things can progress from there. And that's about it. To recap, I want you guys to use physical touch as a litmus test to go for a kiss. If you've touched a few times and it's gotten more personal, then you're probably okay to do it. I don't want you to wait to the very end of the date. When you do it, I don't always think you need verbal confirmation. If you really want to, make it a statement rather than a question. Tell her, hey, I want to kiss you right now. Otherwise, I think you can get that confirmation and make your intentions known by just taking your time through a kiss, stopping what you're doing, looking at her deep in the eyes, pulling her in nice and gently, taking that kiss for a few seconds, and then pulling away. And it feels really natural for that to happen, and you give her an opportunity to decide if she wants to do this. From there, I think just remember that don't go straight to making out endlessly for 30 minutes. I think taking some breathing room and just kind of giving some space for that tension to come back and for her to miss the kiss, and then you guys do it again, is great. And when you don't wait to the very last moment moment of the date and you kiss a little earlier, you guys can kiss progressively throughout the date and things could even go further from there. So I hope this creates many more intimate connections for you guys on first dates. And if you like this advice, subscribe below, hit the notification bell. We love producing content around helping you guys be more confident with women, learn to flirt openly, and eventually move that towards intimacy in the bedroom.